Midpoint of a line segment. The midpoint of a line segment is the point that is halfway between the endpoints of the line segment. It almost goes without saying, but I said it anyways. In other words, the midpoint is the point in the exact middle of a line segment and divides the line segment into two equal parts. For each line segment below, plot the midpoint and state the coordinates of the midpoint. Okay, go ahead, you can do this. I have faith in you. Probably misplaced, but I have faith in you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And where is that? Midpoint of CD. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Midpoint of EF. Oh, that's a little different. Midpoint of GH. 5, 2. And midpoint by J. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. Okay, agree, disagree? Still working on it? If so, what's taking you so long? Yes? No? Maybe so? Yes?
Maybe so.
Line segment AB is shown. Is line segment AB oblique, horizontal, or vertical? To which I answer yes. But the answer we're really looking for is horizontal, right?
Yes.
Never ask an or question where one of them is true, because, but anyways. Plot the midpoint of line segment AB. Where is it? It's in the middle, so it's pretty fine. Label the point MAB. M. Little AB. Sure. Label it on top of the black line there, because that'll make things stand out. Okay, so what's the capital M stand for? Midpoint. And midpoint of what? That's what the little subscripted AB is for, right? The midpoint of AB. Because eventually we're going to move away from being able to see things.
Eventually we will.
Determine the coordinates of the endpoints A. So where is A? 2, 1. And where is B? 8, 1. And where is the midpoint of AB? 5, 1. Notice that the y-coordinates of all of the points are equal, 1, 1, 1. But the x-coordinates are different, 2, 8, 5. How could you determine the x-coordinate of the midpoint by using the x-coordinates of the endpoints? How can you get a 5 out of a 2 and an 8?
8 minus 2 plus bracket 2 plus 1.
Sure.
X2 minus X1 over 2.
Sure. I like that better, because it's actually correct.
Oh, damn.
So, yes, you can get 8 and 5 out of the 8 and 2 the other ways, but then they're complicated expressions. Whereas we just say, hey, the middle is kind of like the average, and why don't we just average them together, right? Which is what we're doing. So add up the x-coordinates and divide by 2. Add the x-coordinates. And divide by 2. Okay, make sense? 8 plus 2, so here, let's do it. 8 plus 2 over 2 is equal to 10 over 2, which is 5. Line segment BC is shown. Is line segment BC oblique, horizontal, or vertical? No, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Yes. Don't do that. But yeah, vertical. The implied question is, the answer to the question really is yes, but the implied question is, which of them is it? So it is vertical. Plot the midpoint of, it looks like about here. And label this point MBC. MBC. Determine the coordinates of the endpoints of B. What's B? 8, 1. What's C? 8, 5. What's the midpoint? 8, 3. Notice the x coordinates of all the points are equal. 8, 8, 8. But the y coordinates are different. How could you determine the y coordinate of the midpoint by using the y coordinates of the endpoints? So how do we combine one?
1 divided by 2.
There's not much getting by you guys. So we're going to add the y coordinates. And divide by 2. Right? So what do we got? We got 1 plus 5 over 2, which is 6 over 2, which is 3. Yep. Hey, so far so good. Line segment AC is shown. Is line segment, which is line segment AC? Which of the following is line segment AC? Oblique, horizontal, or vertical?
Yes. Yes.
No, I said which of the following. I changed it.
Oblique.
It's oblique. Plot the midpoint of AC. Looks like there. You can mostly eyeball it, right? I mean, it's like, we're all pretty good at finding the middle of something. Decently, because we've had to split things with siblings, and so you divide it in half, and then he chooses which half he gets. You want to make sure you get something divided about as equally as you can. You just get 2 siblings involved and say you split it. He picks first. Determine the coordinates of the endpoints of BC and the midpoint of. That should be A. Oh, didn't label it. Midpoint AC. Where is A? 2, 1. Where is C? 8, 5. Where is the midpoint of AC? 5, 3. How could you determine the x and y coordinates and midpoints by using the x and y coordinates of the endpoints?
With magic.
8 plus x plus y. No, x plus x.
Add the x coordinates and what?
Add the x coordinates and divide it by 2.
Add the y coordinates and divide by 2. For the points, P2 at x2, y2, and P1 at x1, y1, write the formula for the midpoint of the line segment P1, P2. Okay, what's the midpoint of P1, P2? Okay, so you just average the x's, average the y's. The average of the x's will be your x coordinate. The average of your y's will be the y coordinate. So now we no longer need to draw things out and count, right? We have a formula we can use. Use the midpoint formula to determine, which means what? Determine? Show your work. Midpoint of AB. Okay, now being as the formula is right there, I'm not going to write it down. Yeah, it's already kind of there. So. Which one is x1? Minus 7. Which one's x2? Minus 28. Which one is y1?
4.
4. Why not 9?
Because x1 is -7.
Yeah, as soon as I
What is
chose
that
X,
minus 28?
8.
because I'm
Because you already added.
getting ahead of myself.
You already added.
I did. Well, if you go with a thin edge to the eraser, then it'll be a pen.
You can draw with the eraser. Totally does.
Over 2, which is equal to.
It's 4 plus -9. 4 plus -9.
You're better off with videos. I don't mess up.
Yeah. And the first one's -28.
What?
Oh, never mind.
Never
I didn't
mind.
say it out. Just do this.
And?
Negative 2.5?
Let's go with -5/2. -5/2 is exact, right? Which, I mean, -2.5 is also exact, but when we're doing exact values, better to express them as fractions than decimals, right? So we don't try and express things that don't express as a decimal exactly. You know, when we do a third, we're not writing 0.3 or 0.33 or whatever, right? Any rounding we have to do, numeric response, we do at the end, and then we will round accordingly and put our answer in. Algebraically, determine the coordinates of B if the midpoint of AB is 5, -2, and A is 24, 6.
Oh my god.
All right, let's pull out the formula this time. And let's substitute into the formula. So what's the midpoint of AB? 5, -2. He thought he heard a small voice in the corner saying, but he's not entirely sure. What is x1? 24. What is x2?
x2.
x2.
There you go.
What is y1? What is y2? What do we do now?
Multiply it with the 2. Plus 2.
What do we do now?
Multiply.
So,
How do we solve?
Wow. This is why you have to
What's 24 plus x2 over 2 equal to?
28 plus 2x2. Or, sorry,
6
48.
plus y2
Grant,
over
you're not allowed to
2
speak for 10 minutes.
divided by
What's 24 plus x2 over 2 equal to? 5. So, a little simple algebra gets us to x2 is equal to?
-14.
And what is 6 plus y2 over 2 equal to?
-2.
And y2 is equal to? So what is point B? -1410, right? So if you take the -14 and you add the 24 to it, giving you 10, and divide it by 2, you'll get 5. And if you take the -10 and add 6 to it, you get -4. Divided by 2 is -2. So that's our midpoint, right? 5, -2. So that's a way of looking back, right? You look back and you say, what's behind me? No, you look back and you say, does this make sense? Right? And how do you say, well, this makes sense? Well, they gave me the midpoint. If I just calculate the midpoint, if I just pretend I've got those as endpoints and calculate the midpoint, do I get the midpoint? The answer is yes. So, okay, yeah, 2 thumbs up. Good job. How did Florida vote? Do they know yet? Have they counted the votes in Florida? Anybody know?
I don't know. Florida.
I know it doesn't matter, but... Slope. A linear function is a function where the data points lie on a line. Below are 2 examples of linear functions. So there's a cost for a number of textbooks, and there's a number of hours and the amount of fuel. which is going down as the hours go up, I guess, because you're using fuel. And the cost of the textbooks goes up as you get more of them. For the first function, the independent variable is the number of texts, and the dependent variable is cost. Texts. That actually has an entirely different meaning now than it did when this worksheet was written like 100 years ago. Now texts, well, what are you talking text messaging? So it's textbooks, right? Number of texts. Or, well, who knows? Maybe it is texts. I don't know. But I can't see them being that expensive. So.
0 textbooks cost $20.
Yeah. Well, I was really old when text messaging cost a lot. So, yeah, I took it as textbooks, I think. Does it say textbooks anywhere? No, it doesn't, eh? So, we don't know. Who knows? And the dependent is cost.
Starts at the
Great, 10 minutes not up yet. For the second function, the independent variable is number of hours, and the dependent variable is amount of fuel. And the dependent variable is the amount of fuel. The rate of change of a linear function is given by rate of change equals the change in the dependent variable over the change in the independent variable. Determine the rate of change of each of the above functions. Provide units with your answers. So let's go with a couple of points, like 0, 20, and 50, 25. And so if we're going to work out the rate of change, it is the change in the cost, right? So change in cost, which is dependent, over the change in number of texts so the change in the cost is from 25 down to 20. We'll go with the big numbers, right? 25 minus 20 over the change in the number of texts, which is 50 minus 0, which is 5 over 50, or 1 over 10, or 10 cents per text. All right, I guess it's text messages then. I don't know. I got unlimited texting, so I don't even think of that now. That was from years ago when they used to charge you for those things, I guess. They still do?
Unfortunately.
Oh, well, just get unlimited texting.
It costs so much more because I never use my texting.
Well, if you don't text much, then yeah. So what we need to do is draw a line, right? Unlimited texting is a flat line here, and texting is a line here, and we find where they intersect, and we say, well, if you send fewer than this many, then you're better off paying per text, but if you send more than that, then you're better off paying per. That's how we make decisions. Okay, what else do we have then? The other one is the change in the amount of fuel. Over the change in the number of hours. So we need some numbers to go with that. So we have the point 0.60 and we have the point 250. So the amount of fuel is changing, going from 60 to 50. And at the same time, the time is changing by going 0 minus 2, I guess. Because they need to match up, right? If I go with 60, the 60 goes with the 0. And the 50 goes with the 2. So we get 10 over negative 2 or negative 5. Negative 5 what? Liters per hour, right? The amount of fuel is measured in liters. So the fuel is going down by 5 liters per hour, right? That's what the negative 5 means. We are using or losing 5 liters of fuel per hour.
10 minutes ran out.
Okay. All right, what else do we have? For the first function, as the independent variable increases, the dependent variable increases, and the rate of change is a positive number. In the second function, as the independent variable increases, the dependent variable and the rate of change is negative. Is a negative. Okay, there, we're 1/4 of the way through. The change in the dependent variable is called the rise. The change in the independent variable is called the run. And another name for the rate of change of a linear function is the slope of the line. Okay, which is change in dependent over change in independent, rise, run, and or change in dependent, rise, run. In other words, slope of a line is the rate of change, is the change in the dependent variable over the change in the independent variable, or rise over run. How many did not know slope was rise over run? So everybody knew slope was rise over run, right? There you go. So more simply, the slope is rise over run. We use the letter M to denote the slope of a line. Does anybody know why?
Y equals mx plus b.
Because M.
Why M?
It has something to do with Latin.
Does it?
Or Greek.
Okay. I don't actually know.
I guess so.
I think I tried to look it up once, and it's because not Urban Dictionary. I don't think. We could try, but yeah, I don't think it's going to really work. What is the slope of the ramp shown?
4/17.
Okay, so rise over run, 4/17. The roof, or roof. The roof depends where you're from, right? The roof. Yeah, most of us say roof. The roof of a house is the roof of a house shown is symmetrical. What is the slope of the left side of the roof?
2/30.
So let's express it 6/9,
Oh yeah.
which is equal to
2/3.
2/3. A 5-meter ladder leads against a building and reaches a height of 4 meters as shown. Determine how far the bottom of the ladder is from the base of the building.
4
3.
squared plus 5.
So we would say x squared plus y squared equals r squared.
It's 3.
Or sorry, let's go with x squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. I know, we all know it's 3, but we have to determine, so that means we got to show some work.
Can we just say it's a Pythagorean triple if we know it like that?
Sure, and if you don't show y, then you'll just lose marks. Why don't I go with -3?
Because you can obviously have negatives and negatives.
Yeah. In the context of the situation, it has to be a positive number, right? It's a positive distance. Right. How far? How far? Distance. How far? What is the slope of the line? What's the rise? 4. What's the run? 3. Somebody said 1.3. That's wrong. Rounded to the nearest tenth, the slope is 1.3. Rounded to the nearest hundredth, the slope is 1.33. Rounded to the nearest thousandth, it's 1.333, and so on. The slope, though, we will always express as an exact value. That's why we're using fractions. That's why we write 4/3. Nor would we ever express it as a mixed
Why do we always have to use the left?
number, so we would never write it as 1 1/3. Okay, 2 line segments are shown below. To calculate their slopes, do the following steps. Start at the left endpoint and draw a vertical segment until you're at the same height as the right endpoint. Okay, start left, go right, or go up or down. Right, in this case up, in this case down. From here, draw a horizontal line segment until you reach the right endpoint of the original line. So we're starting on the left edge, we're going up or down until we reach the same height as the other end, and then we go across, which is to the right. Find the rise. If you went up to get to the other endpoint, the rise is positive, and if you went down, the rise is negative. So what's this rise? Find the run. Since you went from left to right, the run is always positive.
7.
Oh, 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? 7. Okay, how about on this one?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. And the run?
Negative
6.
Positive 6. Since you went from left to right, the run is always positive. Okay? So the rise, up positive, down negative. The run, we're going to the right. The run will always be positive. Write the ratio of slope is equal to m is equal to rise over run and reduce your answer. So in example 1, m is equal to 3 over 7. Rise over run. Change in y value over change in x value. Change in dependent over change in independent. Up, down over left, right. Rise, up, down, right? Number 2, what is it? Negative 4 over 6, which reduces to negative 2 over 3. Okay, next page. All of the line segments you have seen so far were oblique. Oblique line segments are line segments that are not horizontal or vertical. From question 4, you saw the slope of an oblique line segment could be, if it's a fat line, it's an obese line segment. Oblique line segments are segments that are not horizontal or vertical. For question 4, you saw the slope of an oblique line segment could be positive or negative. Without doing any calculating, how can you determine just by looking at an oblique line segment whether the slope will be positive or negative?
If it goes up or down.
Okay, so an oblique will have a positive slope if
It goes upward. If you put a ball at the bottom and it stays there. What?
it'll go up if
The line is going up.
going up. Be a little more specific. Lines can go up.
The rise is positive. You go from the left to right.
I'm going to draw a line. Am I drawing up or down?
Up.
Okay. Now,
Right, go down.
an does this have a positive slope?
No.
Okay. An oblique line will have a positive slope if
It goes to the top right.
it goes up to the right. Okay? So if it goes up from left to right, if it goes up from left to right. An oblique line will have a negative slope if it,
Goes down.
keep going,
From left.
From right to left.
if it goes down from
Right to left.
Left to right.
left to right.
What? Oh.
Observe.
Left to night. Yes. Left to night. No.
What kind of slope is this? He says, pointing to a line drawn on the board which goes up from left to right. It goes up from left to right. It goes down from right to left. This is a negative slope, he says, pointing at the chalkboard, not chalkboard, the whiteboard, at a line which goes down to the right. It goes down as you go to the right. As you go to the left, it goes up.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay? So when we talk about positive or negative slopes, it goes up to the right, positive slope. It goes down to the right, negative slope. Okay? If we're talking about to the left, then that's opposite.
Is it rising? Different.
A horizontal line segment is shown below. State the rise and the run of the horizontal line segment. What is the rise of this line segment?
It could be 0.
0. What is the run?
6, 7,
7. What is the slope of the segment?
0.
0 divided by 7, which is
0.
0.
Oh,
A vertical line segment is shown below. Is there actually more below the B? Is there a C? No. Okay. A vertical line segment is shown below. State the rise.
Plus, minus 3, because I got you.
What's the run?
0.
What's the slope?
Error defined.
Rise over run. which is undefined. To summarize, a line segment can be oblique, it can be horizontal, or it can be vertical. If it is oblique, as you read from left to right, as far as you go, I don't think we read line segments. What does it say? It says go straight.
It says black
There's
line.
a line segment, say start here and there. You know, they don't say anything. So as you go from left to right, the segment can go up or down. For each line segment below, what can you say about its slope? So, what can you say? This slope is? This slope is? This slope is? This slope is? No, undefined.
Yes.
You use the word undefined, or I use the word 0 when I mark. Okay, it's not error, it's not whatever, it's undefined. All right, have we done the two sides now that we were supposed to do?
What's 0 to the power of 0?
What do you want to do? We could keep going and just finish this.
No.
Then tomorrow would just be a work period on midpoint and so.
No more. I hate
All right, we'll stop.
Yes.
Did he?
Paul was 51, Robert was 48, I guess.
What's next?
It's funny
Oh,
because this first pass goes then winner takes all. So you can take me back.
what's next? Is that it? We're done? No, that's it. We're done. Do homework.